Welcome to a Degenerate Friday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest. The gentleman that is with me, of course, is the professor, who, and this ties into money management. Last year, what was not the most fortuitous of years in terms of overall record, and yet you still, professor, managed to make money. I was saying the other day because your heavy duty plays, for the most part, came through.
For the
So
most
and any gambler would tell you this that you have to be able to survive the periods of time where maybe the deck is a little bit cold, and if you can do that successfully and still manage to make money, then that is the essence of being a winning gambler, or very much at the heart of it. So this year we're hoping to get off to a hot start. We have week 0. I know you're extremely excited about that. And then your big board today deals with the fact that people are elated that football is back, and you have a variety of very significant reasons why people should applaud that. So, well, let's get right to it. And we have week 0 games, and I'm going to have to defy all of the various credos that we espouse here on the show about betting parlays and cubing and squaring the luck factor. And you're looking at like a 3-dog night here in week 0. Let's begin at the beginning here with this game in Ireland between Kansas State and Iowa State.
yeah, the rivalry known as Farmageddon. We've got Kansas State and Iowa State kicking off the season in Ireland, and a rematch of a game that was a late season game last year, played in November. Iowa State won the game 29-21, but if you watch the game, they kind of dominated the game a little bit more than that. Interesting matchup. Both teams' quarterbacks were kind of off in that game. It was a weather game in Ames, Iowa, and perhaps that's why we're seeing Kansas State installed as a favorite here. But when you look at everything about these two teams, returning starters, Iowa State brings back 14. Now they don't bring back a lot at the skill positions, but they do bring back their quarterback and Rocco Becht, Anthony Becht's son, and they do bring back their entire offensive line, which is usually a good sign, particularly for the running game. Now a little thinner on defense. Believe they bring back 5 or 6 starters, but it's all at key positions, particularly the 2 corners, who were both very good last year. Kansas State, on the other hand, they bring back 11, again, including the quarterback and Avery Johnson. Their most notable loss on offense would be running back DJ Giddens. But Kansas State is one of those schools, even though they don't necessarily get the big-name recruits, they always seem to develop a running back. So I'm not necessarily all that concerned for the Wildcats at that spot. But, again, coming off a relatively late regular season game, I'm not entirely sure why Kansas State would be installed as a favorite. If you're going to say, well, it's because it's in Ireland, okay, but Iowa State's a much more experienced football team in terms of returning starters. So, if anything, the distraction of going across the world to play a game, I would think would slightly lean towards the Iowa State side. Not that I expect either side to be ill-prepared here. But currently showing 3 with a juice adjustment on Kansas State. -3, -115, which makes you think there's a chance this is going to go to 3.5. Although the way the action has looked, I don't know that they necessarily want to move off that 3-point number here. I definitely favor Iowa State in this spot. Again, game they dominated last year, not on the scoreboard, but on the field. And you're catching points. Kind of seems like a no-brainer spot to me, even with the X factor of playing in Dublin. These games do tend to get a little bit screwy. I want to check next week's schedule because I think they both come back to play. Iowa State does, and yeah, they both come back to the States to play another game. So again, the Ireland thing can be a little bit of distraction, certainly as we saw last year with Florida State. But 2 veteran clubs, veteran coaches, I don't expect it to be as big a deal. You asked me earlier about the total. Again, when you factor in the trip, when you factor in the playing in Ireland, I would expect this to be more of a defensive-oriented game, and both these are pretty conservative programs to begin with. Even though I did look it up, the weather's supposed to be very nice. It's supposed to be like 60 degrees and sunny, which is,
Very unusual, yeah.
right where these two teams should be comfort zone-wise for the fall. But I would expect more of a defensive game here. Lean towards under the total, much more strongly lean to Iowa State plus the points. Iowa State +3.
All right, taking the 3 points with Iowa State, the game in Ireland, Week 0 special, and a game that people were focusing in on as having some significance.
Oh
Elsewhere,
yeah, I mean this game's got big. I mean, just like last year, where the November game basically put Iowa State into the Big 12 title game over Kansas State. This game could, down the line, very directly impact who a team in the Big 12 title game is.
all right, you're also looking at Fresno State and Kansas. That's a big line of games in Kansas, 12 and a hook.
I mean, the line here makes me wonder if after a couple of years of success, followed by a very disappointing last year, is there's actually some name value attached to Kansas football here, because this line is way north of where I feel like it should be when you just look at the two teams coming off of last year and the returning personnel. Kansas, again, Jalen Daniels is probably and I half wonder if this is because 2 years ago we went through this where people were confusing Jalen Daniels and Jaden Daniels,
Yeah.
and it kind of makes sense. They're both athletic quarterbacks. They're sort of the same size. They don't look much alike. Jalen's a little thicker than Jaden is, but I kind of wonder if that's what the name value here is, because Kansas, again, one of the most disappointing teams in the country last year. People expected Kansas to contend for a Big 12 title last year. They didn't come close, and frankly, Jalen Daniels was part of the reason. 2 years ago, he came on, played like the last 8 or 9 games of the season. Very exciting player, had Kansas pointing to the future. Then he got injured for a year. Then he came back last year, and he's hugely disappointing. After completing like a completion percentage in the high 60s 2 years earlier, came back last year and was in the mid 50s, was inefficient, turned the ball over. And on top of it, Kansas, they've lost all their pass catchers, and they lost Neal, who I think finished first or second. He went into the season close to Gale Sayers for the all-time rushing leader at Kansas. I don't remember if he beat the record or not, but he's either first or second. So you're losing, an all-time program great at the running back position. I don't see a lot of reason for Kansas to be installed as a 2-touchdown favorite here. Now, Fresno State did have a down year by their standards last year, but they've actually kind of been ping-ponging back and forth the last few years. Bring in quarterback E.J. Warner, that is Kurt's son, who's, again, an interesting story in his own right, in that he's been a very productive player who played for very bad teams. Was not highly recruited, started his career as Temple, but he was a starter for a Temple as a true freshman. Then transferred to Rice. He's put up good numbers everywhere he's gone. He's put up good numbers for bad teams, but good individual numbers. So you put him, with a program who's had some historical success in Fresno State, and you could expect, that you might get some good results out of that. Again, I thought Kansas was among the most disappointing teams in the country last year. 13-point favorites to start the. I'm not sure that I don't think Fresno State's got a chance to win this ball game. Again, if Daniels is the quarterback we saw last year, he was turnover prone, and the surrounding talent is just not there with him. So we're looking at, definitely taking the points, and I think a shot on the money line is justified here at plus 400. You don't see that often. So
I tell you what,
again, particularly in week ones when offensives tend to struggle, because Kansas, even at their peak, has never been exactly a defensive juggernaut.
what you don't see very often is a carpetbagger type of career on the collegiate level. That's
Well, you
recent
see that
development.
more
You
and
go
more
from
these days.
Temple to Rice to Fresno State, all as a starter in the span of just a few short years. All right, so Fresno State, maybe even a little taste at 4-1 on the money line with Fresno State for the Professor. So we have Iowa State as a dog getting 3 points in the Ireland game against Kansas State. Fresno State getting 12 and a hook and maybe more by the time we get to post time, plus maybe a little sniff at 4-1 on a money line to win the game outright. And then you're looking at Hawaii and Stanford, Professor.
Yes, one of my favorites, Defo. My college football geek. Favorite games of the year is, of course, the Week 0 at Hawaii matchup.
Yes.
Which we get annually. And Stanford, again, has not gotten off to a great start in their ACC tenure, 3-9 each of the last 2 years. So I think that has something to do with Coach Troy Taylor, who came over from Sacramento State. and let's say got a little screwy 2 years ago. He went to the like I'm not punting thing. They did pull off that huge upset against Colorado, and they lost a lot of close games that year. Last year they got blown out a lot. But I kind of feel like he had just lost the team at that point. Replacing him with Frank Reich. Now Frank Reich again, a guy who could not catch a break as an NFL coach. He took the Colts job, and then all of a sudden Andrew Luck retired. He managed to bring them back to that surprising year where they went 11-5 with Jacoby Brissett playing quarterback, and then the Colts went into the mode where they kept signing like old shot quarterbacks.
Yeah.
With great, Matt Ryan and Philip
Flacco.
Rivers, and again, it never worked. Then he goes to Carolina, who was basically tanking the year, goes 1-10 and gets fired. But if you look at it, sort of a passing game guru guy with an NFL background, well, that's worked out pretty well over the years at Stanford. That Jim Harbaugh launched his Division I career at Stanford. Before that, obviously Bill Walsh. I'm not saying Frank Reich is Bill Walsh or Jim Harbaugh, but he is a guy who had a good reputation in the NFL as a passing game coach. And, obviously, biggest comeback of all time as a player, everybody
Yep.
knows it for.
I left that game at halftime.
So I do not necessarily think that Stanford is going to the playoff, but I do look for Stanford to be improved, and I think they will go out to Hawaii and actually get a win. Other than like obviously the annual Hawaii home field thing.
Yeah.
But you're dealing with Stanford kids. Like I don't think Stanford's going over to Hawaii to start week 1 and getting drunk at the luau, and
It's not like Rutgers is going there.
it's not like the year in the Hawaii Bowl where Boise State went over and their quarterback got sent home because he was throwing bags of piss off the hotel roof. I think
dive into the motel pool from the second floor balcony.
Yeah, I think if you're going to have a group that is going to go over and stay on task, Stanford kids seem like a pretty good bet for that. So I'm not really sure why Stanford's catching points here, but take advantage of it while you can. I mean, yes, they've been lousy for 2 years in a row, so I get that. But I still don't think Hawaii's culture their football culture has been fully repaired. Yes, they got an emotional lift last year coming off the fires where the whole island's sort of rallied around them, but I don't know that you're going to get another carryover season for that. Again, a lot of emotion around the program last year, less so carrying forward. I do think Stanford will go over and get a win, and I like their quarterback, the kid Gudnanson from Oregon State, to go over and give Stanford a lift in that program where he was a winning quarterback, but for some reason they kept bringing in big name transfers to try to replace him with. But again, I like the way Stanford points forward under Frank Reich, and it'll probably be one of the rare games, going in where Stanford has more NFL level talent on the field than their opponent in playing on Hawaii.
I love the approach. My grandmother's dying words: always take the points. The points in all 3 games for the professor. Week 0. And I know you're in celebration mode because many people, you're not a big Major League Baseball fan. You think the game?
No, I despise Major League Baseball.
Unwatchable. I don't even know if you. I don't even think you like the little kids that are playing in Williamsport because baseball just has changed, in your opinion, to the point where it's unwatchable.
Honestly, to some degree, Major League Baseball now shares some commonality with the Little League World Series, where you see this little 12-year-old and he throws like 78, but when you factor in that the distance between the plate and the mound,
it's like 40
shorter. Yeah, like 78 equates to like 104 or whatever it is. And now every Major League Baseball team carries like 4 relievers who can all throw over 104 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you're basically waiting for, solo home runs between strikeouts. It's kind of the way Major League Baseball is played now. So
pretty much,
and I find it dreadfully boring.
I mean, I still have some interest in Major League Baseball. Maybe that's the old school in me going back to when baseball.
I'm live and let live. Again, if you dig it, cool. I just personally, as someone who used to watch a fair
I'm not as riveted to it as I was once at one time. Yeah, I mean that was the number one sport. Football has become the number one sport for most people, many people, and especially as a betting entity, everybody loves it. And you are celebrating the fact that football is back this week.
I am. Yeah. And that is our big board this week, which is, let's pull it up here. The big board of football finally
Finally,
being back.
finally being back. Yes, a lot of people, as we said, are very happy about that. All right, so we'll kick it off with number 5.
And we come to the wire, and there's a lot of interesting stories out there. We're going to start with number 5, which is we talked about it a few weeks ago when we did our ACC and Big 12 preview. Uh, last week when we did the SEC and Big 10 preview. Going under on Nebraska, who's gone under the win total 8 of the last 9 seasons. And we predicted it under. And we're doubling down on it. Why? Because this is their starting punter who they brought in from Australia. And when asked at the press meeting about being homesick for Australia, started to cry like a little girl.
For those that are getting audio only, you can't imagine how pathetic this looks. That this kid was distraught over the fact that he wasn't back in Australia. That's not a good sign. If this
Now,
guy
again,
hauled
you
up on-
have seen a number of these Australian punters over the years. I believe last year or 2 years ago, they made up something like 82% of all the punters among the power conferences, and they always look like they've been pulled right off of the biker gang section of Australian prisons.
or like the guy in the Replacements,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like some goofball. But
You
that
know that
just happens to hang the ball up there for 18 seconds and manages to kick everything 60 yards plus.
again. They had the guy Bennett for the Chargers years
Yeah.
ago. It was like the first of the Aussie punters who actually wanted his teams to screw up so he would get the opportunity to tackle the returner because he just loved to hit.
Yeah,
Like
rugby background. Yes.
again, but we get to this kid who asks about being homesick and just starts bawling like a small child on the first day of school.
Yeah.
Not encouraging if you're Matt Rule and the Nebraska. If I were Matt Rule, I would have sent his ass back to Australia the next day. Like, I can't have that around my football team.
You would have thought the scholarship would have gone right in the shredder based on this performance. Not a sign of solid stability to work under pressure. So, first time he faces some kind of ferocious pass rush or rush of the punter, not a good sign that he's falling apart like this. All right, that's number 5. Number 4 on the list. Thank
Number
goodness.
4, and as we get into futures markets, one of the big stories has been that Matthew Stafford out with the Rams is not practicing.
Yeah.
And the internet has had the kind of calm, rational reaction to that you would expect, which is a conspiracy theory currently circulating that Matthew Stafford died 2 weeks ago and that the guy you're seeing on the practice field not throwing is a lookalike. So
A body double.
if it is in fact that this, by the way, has gotten big enough that someone asked Matthew Stafford's wife about this
Oh, wow.
during her podcast the other day.
What was her response? Did she claim he was alive?
She claims it, but what's she going to say? She wants to get that contract money for the
Sure.
Rams. If he's dead, she needs to keep collecting those paychecks.
And they want to continue running that commercial for the sleep adjustment bed or whatever that is.
There you go.
Yeah, where one half of the bed is on one setting and the other half's on another.
But yeah, big for futures bettors. If it's true that Matthew Stafford died 2 weeks ago, particularly with Stetson Bennett as the backup, like you're gonna want to go under on the Rams this season.
How come it is always when I'm in one of those situations with those beds where you can have the divided settings, hers is always on ice cold. It's just, it's always a tough situation. All right, so you now do you buy this theory that Stafford is actually dead?
I mean, I don't know what he would have died from, but I mean, we did see him at Ocean Manor that one time drinking like 37 beers. So
Yeah.
I suppose that was years ago, but I suppose it's possible, right? I mean,
Yep. You'd have to take it into
traffic and
consideration.
whatnot, it could happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm surprised it's circulating certainly in MAGA, circles where that they're buying this thing. They're buying a lot of conspiracy theories. All right, that's number 4. It's
I
big-
mean, really, when you compare it to the conspiracy theories that are out there about everything these days, it's really not that wild.
I think I heard Steve Bannon talking about it. The man's dead. I'm telling you. It's just a treasure chest of proof. All right, so that's number 4. Stafford could be dead, and it's big for gamblers if it's true. Number 3, the reasons it's great football is back.
Number 3, maybe the biggest story of this particular week. And also a huge story about the scouting process
Yeah.
for the NFL, and that surrounds the Indianapolis Colts. And it turns out, Defo,
Yes.
that hitting the roof with a pass on your pro day doesn't necessarily translate as a skill for the NFL.
Yeah, that was a big thing with your man Pat McAfee. That this guy was able to hit the roof, and as we said earlier when we were talking about this, unless you're going to invoke the infield fly rule, I mean, of what significance is it that he was able to do that? Because
Well,
he
again,
couldn't wide receiver, if there was no defender on the field.
again, there are a lot of people of accusing the Colts of all sorts of bias, including
Yeah,
racial bias. I mean,
racist.
maybe that's because they have not installed the hit the roof offense yet. Like they haven't, you know, put in the plays where you bounce it off the roof into the receiver's hands. So they drafted this kid for the specialty and then never use it. I don't know.
I can't imagine they wanted to sit the black quarterback that they used the number 4 pick on in the draft and had given the starting nod right away for Daniel Jones. I mean, so some guy that I know the general public that doesn't have a high opinion of Daniel Jones. I can't imagine that they felt like this was. I mean, was it racially driven? You got
I
to be.
mean, I think honestly, if you lose to Daniel Jones in anything
Yeah.
other than possibly the Quiz Bowl, it's not a good sign for your abilities. Like I don't care what sport it is. If you're losing to Daniel Jones, you probably have to start questioning your own particular skill.
As you said, I mean, other than the Wonderlic test, what would you lose to this guy? And that was related to the NFL. All right, so that's number 3. Poor scouting on Anthony Richardson, who now has his agent screaming that there was a trust issue there, but they did trust him. I mean, in spite of the evidence that was on the table, you were screaming that Richardson was never going to make it as a pro.
He wasn't good in college.
Yeah,
Like I mean, he led one of the most disappointing seasons in Florida football history. Like I didn't understand that one. And again, of all the things I've heard, and it's the two that stand out were former number 1 pick overall pick Jamarcus Russell, and he could throw 75 yards while he's on one knee. Well,
yeah,
okay, are you designing the throw from one knee play?
sure.
And then it was followed up years later with, well, Anthony Richardson hit the roof during his pro day. Well, if you ever watched a pro day, those are some scripted sessions. Like, did they script in the throw the ball into the roof play? And if so, why? Like, how does that translate to the NFL?
A wild athletic talent, and every time I see any kind of interview with him, and/or I've seen a couple of features about this guy, he seems like somebody that you would absolutely 1,000% be rooting for. And I would imagine that the Colts felt the same way. So that
Particularly
has
if
to be
you
a tough decision to bench him
per,
in favor of Jones.
particularly if you were, part of a crew that repaired stadium roofs. I imagine you're a huge fan.
All right, that's number 3. Number 2, the reasons football, it's good football is back.
Number 2, maybe the biggest story in college football this week is Auburn has
Yeah,
gone back and retroactively claimed 4 new national championships, including the one from 2004. But we say on the big board, why stop there? Auburn, declare victory over Napoleon, and that the Louisiana Purchase was a victory for Auburn. And since former Auburn coach Tommy Tuberville is now a big member of the Trump administration in Washington, D.C., why not have Auburn declare victory over Greenland so we can just seize Greenland like we've been trying to do?
this Tuberville, I mean, I remember talking to him many times. I used to have to interview him when he was the OC for the Miami Hurricanes. And you could have never imagined this would evolve from the things he was speaking of then. But yeah, it's like the Texas redistricting map, this graphic that you have put up there with
It's
Auburn.
the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
Again, Auburn has claimed victory over Napoleon, so now they only have 4 new national championships, but also the right to 9 different states.
We'll have to celebrate those. I mean, yeah, that's kind of wild, the declaration that they've been jobbed and hosed out of 4 titles. And why not just continue along those lines? I think they want Crimea also.
There you go.
Part of their geographical
Maybe they get a piece of Ukraine. Like, we're just divvying that, giving some of that to the Russians. Let's give Auburn a little. Let's give Auburn Kyiv.
All right, what tops the list?
Something I've been saying for a long, long time, Defo, and it turns out the entire soccer world has caught up to me as we enter the NFL season. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Tom Brady has purchased part of Birmingham FC, and there's a documentary came out at the end of July, currently on Amazon, about the process where he knocked off the Welcome to Wrexham show that has been so popular. And it turns out everybody in soccer hates Tom Brady. And I'm asking, where the hell have you been for the last 2 decades? Because, again, the reviews are in on this show and completely lacking the charm of the Welcome to Wrexham show. The reviewer from Boston.com, again, a website you would think probably inclined to be Tom Brady fans.
Very favorable.
Opening line was, after watching this show, we have to ask ourselves, is it possible Tom Brady is terrible at everything except playing quarterback? Not an encouraging line coming from the people at Boston.com. Apparently, now I have not watched this show yet. I will probably binge it out my first opportunity here. Tom Brady went into this. He's part of the Birmingham FC, and he hates the city of Birmingham and all the people who live there.
Not good. Yeah.
And expresses as much several times throughout the show, including a scene where he goes into the pub to meet the public and ends up telling the people with him, I'm going to need your help here because this is not my thing. So,
doesn't that look like a freshly bribed FIFA official? That's Brady in the picture. like the suitcase full of cash is loading down the trunk of his car as he's attending the game with old Tommy Boy. Probably not the best position to take. That everything about the city sucks.
Again, my favorite line from the review on Boston.com was, maybe we should let Ryan Reynolds try to do the NFL announcing on CBS. Obviously comparing this to Welcome to Wrexham. Again, Brady not making good impression and getting very bad reviews on his documentary about purchasing the Birmingham football team. Now, again, part of this is everything about the series seems to be a direct rip-off of the Welcome to Wrexham show. So then maybe they're just giving him hell for being a complete copycat here. But not an enthusiastic reaction from soccer fans to one Tom Brady and his ownership of Birmingham FC.
Yeah, you might be right in your theory that the only thing he was ever good at was playing quarterback. Because,
he's not distinguished himself as an announcer. Let's put it that way.
No, I mean, you wouldn't know. I mean, it's Brady, but I mean, they could plug pretty much anyone in there with the generic way that he approaches everything. Professor, always great. Let's hope your 3-dog parlay hits. Oh, well, you're not parlay them. You're not an idiot like me, but I'll be calling you to put a small taste on it for me.
Yeah, I figured that could happen.
Iowa State, Fresno State, Stanford. They all look like winners to me with the points, and hopefully they will be for you. Professor, always a pleasure, my friend. We'll talk
have
to
a
you
great
again.
one, Steve.
Good luck with everything. Week 0 for the Professor. And good luck, everybody. All your plays. You got college football, real game action. Still a relatively full slate left, including some Friday games in the National Football League. That guy was right yesterday. We were talking about Mike Jones about the G-men. And the Patriots pulling everybody for this game. Giants did start Jackson Dart. Showed you some real promise again, why the people were so excited about him in New York on that first drive. And the Giants went on to hammer the Patriots. So line reversal of 9.5 points. Patriots open as 3-point favorites. Giants go off 6.5, maybe even higher by the time they get to post time for that one. And end up in a runaway, just an absolute rout of the Patriots yesterday. So that handicapper we were talking about, so take the minus 230, go ahead and lay it in the first quarter. Giants straight up on the money line, and then 3.5 points by the half covered on both of those. So we tip our hat to the guy that seemed to have some pretty pristine logic. And especially when you found out that none of the Patriots starters were going to be involved. They were in street clothes for the entire ballgame. All right, good luck with all of your plays. You got Major League Baseball. The Yankees, after losing to the Red Sox last night, half game up on the Red Sox in a wild card, still 5 back of Toronto in the American League East. So many teams that we thought big higher payroll teams. Mets in that same situation. Dodgers getting tenuous. So interesting stuff happening in Major League Baseball. gut instinct maybe can help you pick a couple of underdogs on that slate as well. All right, have a great weekend, everybody. Good luck. We'll see you Monday with Mike Jones on the next edition of Bury Your Bookie.